When I first met him at work, he definitely seemed like the kind of guy that was very important and he had it all together. So I tried to be really cool around him and make sure that he knew I was cool too.
Actually, the first couple of weeks after she started working with me at Codonics, I thought she was a big dork.
The first thing I noticed about Nick were his very girly hands. They were well manicured, very, very girly hands. And the other thing is that his hair was always perfect. It always looked exactly the same, not a hair out of place.
Oh, are we filming?
I got my first job out of college working at a company called Codonics in Middleburg Heights, and that's where Nick had been working for about 6 years. And so the first day my boss took me around and she introduced me to everybody, and she introduced me to Nick and the rest of the marketing department, but that's technically when we first met. And then over time we got to know each other a little more. Our jobs didn't really interact, but there was a group that... So that's how we met.
We met at work.
Our first date, that day we went to a fundraiser for a coworker, and Nick gave me a ride there, but since nobody really knew we were hanging out, he had to wait in the car for 10 minutes before coming in so that nobody saw that we drove there together.
So after the coworkers fundraiser we went back downtown because I had tickets to the Indians game, and it was Snuggie night. I wasn't missing that. So it was pouring rain, and I didn't want to sit through the game, and I feel bad because I blew off some friends. So I pull up to the side of Progressive Field, run out in the pouring rain, show my ticket, get the Snuggie, get back in the car.
We actually hung out the next day as well to watch the Browns game. And Nick was so nervous that he ordered a salad and iced tea, and I ordered wings and beer.
So when the server came out, they gave the beer and chicken wings to me, and they gave her the iced tea and salad. Hashtag embarrassing. So we had been dating about a year, and it was around Christmas time, and we were going home to Alabama to see her family. And I used my airline miles for the flight. So I made it sound like that I needed to come in a day early in order to get the free flight with the airline miles. But I really was planning to talk to her dad. And that was very nerve-wracking. I had to mentally prepare for the talk. But my brother-in-law, Jimmy, he tells the story the best.
It was 3 days before Christmas, and Nick was asking for Allison's hand at the George house. Soon he found himself tased and crawling on the floor like a mouse. But the butler threw his luggage out to the lawn with care as Mr. George dragged him outside, and he got a mouthful of dog hair. As the taxi drove Nick away into the night, Mr. George yelled, "Merry Christmas to all." And no, Nick, you are not Mr. Right.
I've never been more nervous in my entire life.
The proposal was really, really sweet. You could tell that he put a lot of thought into everything and made every detail perfect and very romantic.
Probably the most nervous I've ever been in my life.
He took me on a date. First he said, we're gonna go on a date and it's a surprise, but we should dress up. So I knew something was probably up. He took me to the place where we went on our first date, which was Cleveland Chop House. And he picked what he thought was the same table we went to, but it was one table over, but it was no big deal.
So I got up to go to the bathroom, and you ever hear the term stage fright? It was the moment I realized that I was at a urinal next to Phil Dawson, the kicker for the Cleveland Browns. Like, really? And he, I'll tell you what, he's one of the most accurate kickers in the league. That guy did not miss the urinal.
So during the dinner, everything went really well, and then for dessert, they brought out a little velvet box with dessert, and I was all excited, and he gave a little speech about how much he loved me, and I opened the box, and rose petals popped out, and there was no ring. And he did a fake proposal at the restaurant, and basically he started laughing and thought it was hilarious.
I cannot believe I pulled it off. I actually had a conversation with them.
After that, we went on a walk down this street where you have a really good view of Tower City, which is kind of a special place for us. And he did another fake proposal next to this view of Tower City. He gave a little speech and knelt down and gave me a ring pop and another fake proposal. And then we kept walking over to where I used to live, which is also where our first kiss was. And that was when he pulled out a real ring and had a real sentimental speech and asked me to marry him.
I couldn't wait to call my family and tell them the news. The first person I thought to call was my mom. And it was a Friday night, and I called her, and man, she was drunk. I mean, you would have thought it was like New Year's Eve or something. So I was like, Mom, hey, you're never gonna believe this. I ran into Phil Dawson of the Cleveland Browns in the bathroom. I was peeing next to him. Phil? Who's Phil? I don't know any Phil.
And it was a really perfect evening.
It was a perfect night.
So we were both still living in our apartments, but we knew that we wanted to get a house pretty soon after we got married. So we were just casually looking at the market because the market was really good for buyers at the time. And this house just kind of fell into our laps, and it was just meant to be. It was like fate.
So as soon as we got the keys, we knew the first thing that we wanted to do.
I think we're going to have a really great life ahead of us. I'm really excited about starting a family with him, of course. I grew up with 4 sisters, so I'm really excited about a nice big family, maybe 4 or 5 kids at least.
So small family, 2 kids max.
I also grew up with, dogs. We always had a dog growing up, so I'm excited about that. Probably 2 dogs, and I like bigger dogs, like the fluffier the better. So I think our first Christmas I might surprise him with 2 big Saint Bernards. I think he'll really love it.
Man, I'm so glad that she agreed that we're not going to have any pets someday. I couldn't imagine living with them. They're hairy, they're smelly, you got to pick up after them. I don't want to deal with all that, so I'm glad we're on board. Same page.
I know he complains a lot about the weather up here in Cleveland, so I'm sure we'll probably move back down south after a while, so we can be closer to my family and good weather down there. So I'm excited about that too.
So I'm so glad we decided to stay up here in Cleveland and raise our family here. And, my family and friends are here. I couldn't imagine leaving. And, I'm kind of getting used to the weather. So, I'm glad that we're staying up north.
So I'm looking forward to our life together with, a lot of kids and the dogs and maybe a hamster and our bird to keep the dog company. A lot of stuff going on.
I can't wait to spend the rest of my life together with her.